As per usual, I wrote this last night. I think it was the last thing I did before I went to bed. And I hoped to reread it today and take one last pass because I always edit
Mm-hmm.
when I take another pass.
Mm-hmm.
I did not get time to do that. So it's going to be a great one.
Well, I'm excited with your hints yesterday. I was left wondering what could it possibly be? So, would you like to introduce us and then give us your hints one more time?
Yes. Welcome to Forbidden, the podcast where we discuss the disgusting, the dark, and the disgraceful in our unmentionables. Yes, that's right. We've slipped into something more comfortable. And listener, we hope that you are as well. My name is Blake Roberts.
And I'm Amanda Kamada, and welcome. So, yeah, let's hear your three hints once again because I am super excited to hear this story. Because after I heard the hints yesterday, I was left wondering what in the hell could this possibly be that is unexplained?
Yeah, so this is our third episode in our limited series, Unexplained. My hints to you, I did not write them down, but I think I remember them, were darkness, England, and sheep.
Correct.
Cool. I remembered my things that I was supposed to remember. That's perfect.
Well, for darkness and sheep, I'm pairing a sports bra this evening with that because it makes me think that I'm going to be doing work on some sort of farm. So I dressed for comfort today, just in case, we're going to work on a farm. And then England, I paired a gin and soda with that today because I feel like they drink a lot of gin in England. So I decided that rather than vodka soda today, I would do a gin and soda.
Nice. Those are fun pairings.
Yes.
I also am sporting cotton. Actually, sheep would be wool, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not wearing underwear. It's fucking August.
No way.
But I am wearing some, God, there's no logo on the waistband, but I got them from Marks and Spencer, which is a department store in England.
Okay.
So I'm wearing some Marks and Spencer's briefs right now. And because I opened this bottle last night, for those who are watching or listening to this right now, we're having to double up on our recording days because I have 4 trips coming up like consecutively, and it's throwing off our production schedule. So we
Yes.
are rushing through some content so that we can stay regular for you.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make sure that we stay consistent, if anything, with you guys. And we know that you want this series to keep rolling. So we're keeping it rolling for you. So we are taping 2 nights in a row this week. And we are leading into the Labor Day weekend, which Blake is going to be doing some travel, which we'll get into the talk of shame. So we'll make you wait for that. But in the meantime, I want to hear about this darkness, England, and sheep.
Well, I've got my darkness right here in this red wine glass, again with water spots, my favorite.
All right. We're back.
Our story begins on November 3rd, 1888, in Oxfordshire, England.
Oh, I know someone from there. A
Do
good
you
friend of
really?
mine. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yes.
It is a dark, dark night. The moon is in its waning crescent phase with near 0% illumination. By all accounts, it's a very dark, dark night. Reports indicated that the darkness was so intense that it was as if a black cloud was rolling along the ground, making visibility almost nil. People describe not being able to see their own hands in front of them, so pretty
Wow.
dark.
Yeah.
It's hard to even imagine that because you think of like living in a city now and street lights and light pollution.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to imagine that level of darkness. The intense darkness was disrupted only by occasional flashes of lightning. So dark and sort of stormy. It doesn't sound like there was any rain, but just like a creepy night, you know?
And this was in November, you said?
Yeah, November 1888.
Okay.
So, Oxfordshire is a picturesque county located in the southeast region of England, renowned for its rich history, stunning architecture, and beautiful countryside. The county covers an area of approximately 1,006 square miles, and one of England's most famous rivers, the Thames, flows through the county, adding to its scenic beauty and historical significance. So that evening, between the hours of 8 p.m. and 9 p.m., across a 200 square mile stretch of countryside, some tens of thousands of sheep reportedly broke free from their pens and scattered in fear. So,
Wow, that's a lot of sheep.
yeah, over a radius of 200 square miles.
Wow.
So, sheep are naturally timid and easily startled, but the sheer scale and synchronicity of these panics left both farmers and scientists baffled. The next morning, farmers found their sheep dispersed far from their fields, with many still in a state of terror. So they found them huddled together under hedges, crowded into corners. Like the sheep were freaking out.
Mm.
Local farmers reported the incident to Hardwick's Science Gossip magazine, seeking an explanation. They ruled out human mischief due to the widespread nature of the event and suggested possibilities like an atmospheric disturbance or a slight earthquake, though neither theory was confirmed. So, human mischief, I don't know what that looks like cow tipping or something, but for sheep.
Yeah, I guess that would be if someone like it makes me think of the movie 12 Monkeys, like whenever they like released all of the animals from their cages or whatever. So
Mm.
it would be like if somebody were to, if they corral the sheep at night, because maybe they let them roam during the day and then the dogs go and they herd them back and, then someone actually comes by and opens up the corral or something and lets them roam free is kind of where my head goes with that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you could imagine like maybe like two or three farms,
Hmm.
if someone like was able to like manage to get from one to the next very quickly, or if it were
Yeah.
like a team effort, like, hey, let's go fuck with these people and their sheep.
Yeah. But
But
over
over
200 square miles, that seems highly unlikely to
Yeah,
coordinate
in
something like that.
1888,
Yeah. We
yeah,
didn't have cell phones back then.
we didn't have any phones back then.
No, we didn't have any. We had carrier pigeons back
I was
then.
just gonna say that. Yeah, exactly. So, other than the darkness and some reports of lightning, there were no extraordinary meteorological events recorded. But what's even crazier is that this was not an isolated incident. The following year saw a similar incident in the same area, and then on December 4th of 1893, another widespread sheep panic occurred, this time affecting Oxfordshire and parts of the neighboring counties of Warwick, Gloucester, and Berks. Farmers initially suspected that dogs or foxes might have scared the sheep, but again, the large-scale nature of the panic ruled out these explanations. As a result, many attributed the panic to some form of atmospheric or meteoric disturbance, or possibly an earthquake, although, again, no such events were recorded. The 1893 incident drew the attention of naturalist Oliver Vernon Aplin, who conducted a detailed investigation. Aplin concluded that the most likely cause was an exceptionally dark night, unlike anything most people or animals typically experience. Aplin theorized that the extreme darkness disoriented the sheep, causing them to feel trapped and helpless. In their tightly packed pens, the sheep would bump into one another or their feeding troughs, triggering a chain reaction of panic. Once one sheep bolted, it would collide with others, causing the entire flock to stampede. The panic would only subside once the sheep had broken free and spread out into the open, where they could distance themselves from their source of their fear. Aplin's explanation goes on and highlights the vulnerability of folded sheep as opposed to those in open fields. So, folded sheep is basically like they're corralled in really tight quarters.
That sounds sad.
It does sound sad. So, he says, like, to such panic inducing conditions, something like mass hysteria among the sheep, right, or among sheep. The combination of a thick, low-lying cloud, the oppressive atmosphere, and the sheep's naturally nervous dispositions all potentially contributed to the widespread terror experienced by the flocks. So he's theorizing this is like this perfect storm of elements that caused this to happen. But on the other hand, there's a new moon and near dark at least once a month. So why would these conditions suddenly cause this panic among the sheep and not before? So, in the spirit of the unexplained, because there's no answer to this, it's an old story and there's a bunch of articles about it, but no one can explain it.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's a few fun options. Reports of alien big cats, or ABCs, have been reported around England, including the Surrey puma in southeast England, the fen tiger of Cambridgeshire, and Cornwall's beast of Bodmin, among many others. So I found like a whole list of these cryptid cats. Fast forward nearly a century to May 1983. After 80 sheep killings in the area of Exmoor since the previous summer, most with their skulls crushed and their carcasses eviscerated, 12 Marines with night vision goggles scoured Exmoor in what was called Operation Beastie. So there are actually Marines deployed to look for these cryptid cats.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Similar livestock attacks grew to epidemic proportions across Bodmin Moor in the early 1990s. Then in 1995, the then Ministry of Agriculture conducted an official investigation examining animal tracks, film, photographs, and sheep carcasses. The experts found no verifiable evidence, but admitted they couldn't prove a big cat is not present. And then we have Helena Worth, a 41-year-old self-proclaimed UFOologist and amateur scientist. So dipping our toes back into your story and UFOologists.
Yes.
She believes alien life forms are responsible for the 2010 sheep mutilations. So they just keep happening, like these weird sheep stories, back to the 1880s at least. So she believes that alien life forms are responsible for a 2010 sheep mutilation in the Cambrian Mountains of Wales. Over the years, multiple sheep carcasses have been found spread across the area, previously attributed to big cats and the so-called Beast of Bont, which is another mythical big cat. However, Helena argues that the precise cuts on the carcasses, the lack of footprints, and the absence of blood or internal organs suggest an extraterrestrial explanation. It
Wow.
almost sounds like chupacabra,
Right.
like the
Right.
exsanguination
Yeah.
of the carcasses. So Helena compares these mutilations to similar incidents in the US, where cattle are often found with surgical cuts, missing innards, and no visible signs of predators or human interference. She speculates that these animals could be the subjects of alien experiments conducted from above, as seen in other documented cases of cattle mutilations. Supporting her theory, she points to reports of glowing orbs frequently seen near the areas where these incidents occur, referring to the region as the Sheep Mutilation Corridor. Her fascination with UFOs began in December 2018 when she witnessed a strange spherical light hovering in the sky near her home in southern Ceredigion. That's way wrong, but I'm not going to try again. Initially mistaking it for a house fire, Helena watched as the bright orb-like object moved back and forth in a straight line before disappearing behind trees after dripping what looked like molten lava. This encounter, along with subsequent sightings of similar orbs, has cemented her belief in alien activity. Helena has logged all her sightings with the Swansea UFO Network, which is affiliated to the Mutual UFO Network, or I think it's pronounced MUFON, in the US. She believes that intelligent extraterrestrial beings, possibly living under our oceans or out of sight on Earth, could be responsible for these mysterious occurrences. So it's a weird story, and there's no there's really not much explanation. There's like a couple of sort of soft theories, but none of them really. I didn't feel like any of them were that solid.
But they happen around the same time of the year, it seems.
The three from the 1800s, I believe, were all in winter, like November, December.
Yeah.
The ones after that, actually, yes, because even the one from the 80s, there were, what did it say, 80 plus, yeah, around 80 sheep killings over the course of a year from May to May, or from summer, from the previous summer up until May. So basically fall and winter.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it seems like most of them are occurring in the like Q3, Q4 time of
Yeah.
the year.
Which is, I think that England has very similar winters and falls and winters to like the Seattle area,
Yeah,
and they are so far north that it gets dark really early in the evenings during that time frame, whereas summers it stays light really long. So if it stays light really long, almost till 9 p.m. or something like that, it seems like it would be less likely for it to happen. But when you have these periods of long darkness, it feels like it gives whomever a little more time to, get to these sheep, and it sounds like they might be doing some sort of experimentation on them or something like that. That is like so weird.
yeah. I mean, they're interesting theories, and they sort of start to overlap when we get into like the cryptids thing, because even like the alien big cat, like the sheep mutilations, and then the alien experimentation. I don't know. It's they're interesting theories, and there was actually no article that connected the 1880s event or events to the mutilations later on, but they did come up in my Google search, even though they weren't connected in their individual articles. It just seemed like coincidental enough for them to be connected at some point, especially if
Mhm.
we're talking about like aliens or like these big cats. Um, why would they not have been involved in the 1880s thing? Because
Have
they,
these tracks and stuff of these big cats like they do with Sasquatch and that sort of thing? Like,
I
did they give,
didn't
like,
dig
the size of these big cats or whatever?
I didn't dig too much into case sightings.
Mhm.
What I did see was like some were compared to like cheetahs or pumas in
Mhm.
size,
Right.
and they ranged in color from black to like golden, like blonde, you know?
Mhm.
So there wasn't like a really consistent like, oh, it's always this like green spotted cat. It's like they're always a little bit different.
Yeah.
But England's big enough that maybe, there's a couple of species roaming
Could
around out there.
could be. I mean, whenever I think about England, I certainly don't think about pumas or cheetahs or, any of that sort of thing. So it seems like it could be sort of folklore, things that
Yeah.
are going on. I'll have to ask my dear friend from the UK if it's normal to have big cats around there.
Yeah. Have they seen the Surrey puma?
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. It was just sort of fun. I was thinking when they were talking about how it was so dark they couldn't even see their hands in front of their face. I've only experienced that once in my life, and it was when Josh and I went up to the Grand Canyon not long after we'd moved here. It was in January, so we got really cheap rates at the El Tovar, which is like a grand hotel right on the canyon, beautiful views. It's like a big lodge.
Mhm.
So it gets really busy during the daytime because it's like right there at the park entrance. But around dinner time, it clears out. So it's lovely in the evening. It's like we took bottles of wine, we had dinner and drinks at the restaurant, and then, and this is January again, it happened to just be a really still night, which was nice, in the 20s. So there's like snow around, but it was a new moon. So when we walked outside, you couldn't see. We could have been 6 feet away from the edge, and we wouldn't have known.
Oh my God.
Like, I mean, right there, they've got railings, like little walls built up.
That
But
still gives me angina just thinking about not being able to see the rails.
yeah, yeah, it was fascinating. So I've been there twice, and I may have said this before on the podcast, but we went once on a new moon, and it was pitch black. Like you could not see anything out there. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. I don't know if it was overcast that night too, probably because no stars, no moon, nothing. Then we went again over 4th of July, and it was a full moon, and it was like the whole canyon was illuminated by stadium lighting.
That's
Like,
amazing.
yeah, and it was just the moon.
Mhm.
So it's, yeah, if you can get away from a city and experience that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But so I was picturing that when I was reading this, people being out there.
I was picturing my grandfather's farm in Arkansas because it's out in the middle of nowhere, and he has, or my grandparents built this house together. It's like this 5-bedroom home. It's really lovely home that's sitting on a bunch of acreage, but it scares the shit out of me to stay out there because at night it is pitch black, because there are no street lamps. There are, there's nothing except for the occasional car that will go by on a 2-lane highway, but they have a really long driveway that goes up to their house and stuff like that. And so I do not sleep very well there. And he used to have cattle on his farm, like free range cattle, not in like crowded in pens. It was actually very beautiful when he had the cattle, but I always get a sense of unrest while I'm there. During the day, it's fine,
Mhm.
like it's lovely during the day and I'll walk around the farm and stuff like that. But at night, it creeps me out because I'm like, somebody could come here and murder all of us and nobody would ever know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or a big cat or an alien.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I there are Native American like mounds on his farm, so
Oh
I
yeah,
I tend to wonder if it is haunted at all there, because normally those are burial grounds. So there could very well be Native Americans that are buried, in those areas, and they have found like arrows from like bow and arrows and stuff like that on his farm and stuff before. So my guess is that could be haunted on the farm for sure.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, one time I went fishing in Arkansas, and I'll make this
Mhm.
short and quick 'cause this is not talk of shame. But we went fishing in Arkansas, and I remember seeing in the water an arrowhead, like it was reflective, like it was shiny,
Mhm.
and it was right off the dock. So I reached in and grabbed it and pulled it out, and it was slimy and like floppy, and it was like a piece of a fish that someone had,
Oh,
you know,
spearfished.
and they're like they had like cut it open, and it was like the liver or something of the fish. It just
Oh,
was shaped like an arrowhead. It
oh
was
my
so
gosh.
disgusting.
That is so gross.
But anyway, I digress. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I there wasn't really one theory out of those that I actually liked over the 200-mile radius, and that just there was this window of 3 occurrences where these sheep were like panicking and getting out and running for it over
Mhm.
this widespread area. And then there was the later events, which were like sheep killings. Maybe they're connected, maybe they're not. But I those early things, I don't know. I could not. There was not a theory in there that I was like, yeah, that seems. The weather thing and the darkness, I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't really buy it.
I think there's something that has to be definitely like something from an alien or something, given that they're not like, if it were like wild animals and stuff like that, it feels like they would be just like slaughtered and just guts everywhere and stuff like that. And it doesn't seem like that's the case.
And it seems like it would be more like localized,
Yeah.
like 1 or 2 farms.
Yeah. Not
or
a,
at least like to a village.
right.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I guess I could kind of see the earthquake theory because even if there's none recorded, I don't. How good was that equipment in 1880? I don't know.
Seismic
Maybe it's
equipment, probably not that great.
right. I
Did
mean,
they even
maybe.
have seismic equipment back in those days?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe animals are very sensitive to that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's like in a not a monsoon. Is it a typhoon? Like when the water backs out and humans are like, "Oh, let me go. This is really cool. The beach is getting longer. Let me go check it out." And the animals are like, "Fuck no, I
Oh
am
no.
out of
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
real
It's
quiet
like
because the
run
birds
to
are
higher
gone."
ground, run to higher
Yeah,
ground. Tsunami.
yeah.
Yeah,
Tsunami. That's it. Thank you.
yeah,
But yeah, like maybe just because people didn't report an earthquake, that doesn't mean that there wasn't like a really subtle one that the animals could perceive.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. And like the
And they
bigger
definitely
radius.
can.
Yeah, yeah. But so I could see the earthquake theory. I don't know how many earthquakes they get from
See,
that
that
part of the
doesn't
world.
I don't equate earthquakes either with England for
I don't
some
either.
reason. It's like I never hear about like there was a, so and so magnitude earthquake that hit, Oxfordshire.
Yeah,
And, I don't think about that. If this were Japan or something like that,
totally.
maybe,
Yeah.
but yeah, England not so much.
Although there was that time when we were in New York, we weren't working together at the time, but there was an earthquake that was actually the epicenter was in Virginia, but it was
Mhm,
felt along the coast. And I remember being in the building on the fifth floor, my office, and you could feel the earthquake. And I knew immediately after living in LA, I knew what it was.
mhm.
Um, but you don't think about that happening in New York either. So, but maybe it was just like this like a weird seismic activity that just happened during this little window of time.
True. I was in an earthquake when I lived in Las Vegas, and my cat actually woke me up
Mm,
before the earthquake happened. Like it sensed that it was coming and it was just like, "Meow, meow," and I was like, why is this cat like waking me up in the middle of the night? And then like I sat up out of bed and I could feel the bed shaking, and like I had those, those vertical blinds that were so in the 90s. I
uh,
had those like swinging and stuff like that, and I was like, holy shit, that's an earthquake. So that's the only time I've been in an earthquake. But my cat knew it was coming before it happened, which was pretty crazy.
yeah,
So they do know.
yeah. I guess I do like the earthquake theory the best out of all of those.
Mhm.
Actually, no, I like the alien theory the best.
I
But
do
I feel
like
like,
the alien theory the best, and there are some parallels to the description of the UFO from that explain this as the same ones that like it kind of mirrored a little bit what Barney and Betty Hill actually saw. There's like the description kind of seems a bit similar, so you kind of wonder if it was, an alien sighting.
yeah, I always thought that was sort of fascinating too. Like, I know there's some footage of UFOs like going into alleged UFOs like going into the ocean or emerging from, I can't remember, but there's footage out there of that. And I actually met someone in LA years ago that showed me a photo that he took from Santa Monica from the beach.
Mhm.
And there were these orbs just like almost like perfectly like distanced from each other, like on the horizon. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. So I kind of like the theory that there are aliens that live under the ocean.
Mhm. And England is an island surrounded by
Yeah.
water, so I think that, that is plausible. And I like to think, that they might be doing some like experiments, not just on people, but with animals, because what if they don't have animals and they're like, what the fuck is this?
Or what if they do have animals and they're really big cats
Yeah,
and they just come out and, let their cats roam for a little bit?
exactly. Exactly. And terrorize the sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my story about sheep, weird sheep stories, creepy animal behavior, strange weather, cryptic cats, aliens. The story has it all, really, except for answers.
Right. Right. Well, that was really interesting. That was a good one. I like that.
I can't remember how I got to that. I
I
was
was just
looking,
about to say, how in the hell did you run across this? Because it seems so random.
I was trying to find stories that aren't like widely known. And I
Mhm.
think I was just looking up weird things. And I initially was going to do a story about the Kraken,
Mhm.
but I just couldn't find it. There was nothing for me to like cling onto that I really enjoyed about it. So I found this, and there actually are some like YouTube videos out there. There's some articles about this sheep panic of 1888, but I had never heard of it before, so I was like, let's do this one. It's
Well, I
weird.
certainly haven't heard of it, and 1888 is definitely a long time ago.
Yeah. And sheep are weird. Like they're cute, sort of, and they're
Mhm.
fluffy, but they got weird ass eyes.
Yes, they do. So do goats. Goats have really weird eyes too.
Yeah,
They
yeah. I
have,
don't know.
like
It just creeps me out.
yeah, yeah. Well, that was a very interesting story and learned a little about the the blight of the sheep in
The hard
England,
life.
and yeah. And if you are listening in England and have any information that you can share with us about this, please write in to us at hello@theforbiddenpod.com, because we would love to hear your input. And, are these stories that have been told for a number of years through your, parents and grandparents and that sort of thing, because it's and nothing that I've heard over here in the States before.
Yeah. Do you know about these cryptid cats? Did I mispronounce everything on this episode?
And does
Right in.
everything and does everything have a shire attached to it? Oxfordshire, Cambridgeshire, whatever shire. Like, it just seems like that is like a thing over there. And I don't know. I really like it. It sounds very sophisticated, not classy.
Yeah, yeah, and like a sort of rural, quaint, not hillbilly,
No.
like a sophisticated rural getaway
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
the Shire.
Yeah. Going to the shires.
Yeah,
The Berkshires.
yeah,
Maybe
who
that's where the
knows?
Berkshires came from.
Hmm.
Oh, God, that's funny. Well, if you want to keep watching this content that you are seeing right now, if you're watching on YouTube, follow us at The Forbidden Pod, and you can always listen on Apple and Spotify. Rate and review us on all three at The Forbidden Pod. You can also follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at The Forbidden Pod. And what else am I needing to cover? Oh, the website. We actually have great content on the website from our photo shoots, and all of our episodes from really day one can be listened to on our website, www.theforbiddenpod.com.
Yes. Well, thank you for listening to my weird story.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. I mean, I learned something new today and a phenomenon that I had never heard of. So thank you for sharing it. And as listeners, as always, we thank
Thank you.
you.